The first heartbeat came without warning, a collective pulse that swept across every electronic device on the planet. Dr. Lina Rodriguez stared at her monitor, fingers frozen mid-typing, as the impossible unfolded before her eyes. The quantum array at the International Research Center had just registered something that defied every known law of physics, a synchronized energy signature that originated from multiple points simultaneously, spanning every continent. "That's not possible," she whispered. The laboratory around her seemed to hold its breath. Banks of computers hummed with an unusual intensity, screens flickering with patterns that looked almost like, but surely couldn't be, a coordinated signal. Lina's colleague, Dr. Ravi Kapoor, burst through the door, his normally composed demeanor replaced by a mix of excitement and raw panic. "Did you see it?" he demanded, his voice cracking. Lina nodded slowly, her mind racing. 20 years of research in quantum mechanics hadn't prepared her for this moment. The energy signature wasn't just unusual, it was unprecedented. It carried a complexity that suggested intelligence, yet it emanated from billions of seemingly unconnected sources. Humanity's devices, smartphones, satellites, power grids, medical equipment, all pulsed with the same rhythmic pattern. Not an interference. Not a glitch. Something deliberate. Something alive. The first reports started trickling in from around the globe. Social media erupted with confused posts. Network news channels struggled to make sense of the phenomenon. Emergency services were overwhelmed with calls from people reporting strange sensations, a tingling in their fingertips, a sudden clarity of thought, an inexplicable connection they couldn't quite describe. At the Quantum Research Center, Lina's instruments continued to capture data that challenged everything she thought she knew about human potential. The energy signature wasn't external. It wasn't an invasion or an attack. It was emerging from within humanity itself. Her hand trembled as she adjusted the quantum resonance scanner. Something fundamental was changing, and she was witnessing the first moments of a transformation that would redefine what it meant to be human. The heartbeat continued. Steady. Persistent. Waiting. And humanity, for the first time, was truly, collectively awake. 48 hours after the first global pulse, the world teetered on the edge of chaos and wonder. Lina Rodriguez stood before a hastily assembled international panel, her presentation slides flickering with impossible data. The quantum signatures they'd captured were unlike anything in scientific record. Governments watched with a mixture of anticipation and barely contained fear. "The energy pattern isn't external," she explained, her voice steady despite the weight of her discovery. "It's emerging from within human neural networks. We're seeing spontaneous quantum coherence across seemingly unrelated biological systems." In Tokyo, a construction worker named Kenji Tanaka discovered he could calculate complex mathematical equations in seconds, his mind processing information with impossible speed. In São Paulo, Elena Martins, a kindergarten teacher, found she could understand the intricate emotional states of her students with unprecedented clarity. In Cairo, Hassan Abdullah, a taxi driver, suddenly comprehended the complex mechanical issues of his vehicle with a depth that shocked even professional mechanics. These were not isolated incidents. Global communication networks buzzed with reports of extraordinary capabilities. Some were subtle, enhanced intuition, rapid learning, heightened empathy. Others were more dramatic, localized telekinesis, brief moments of precognition, instantaneous language translation. The International Security Council convened an emergency session. General Marcus Holloway, a veteran strategist with decades of experience, leaned forward, his weathered face etched with concern. "This isn't a natural phenomenon," he stated, his voice a low growl. "Something is fundamentally changing humanity, and we need to understand why." Behind the scenes, a covert task force was already being assembled. Project Prometheus, a classified initiative designed to study and potentially control the emerging human capabilities, began its clandestine operations. Lina knew she was being watched. Her research had become the most valuable, and dangerous, information on the planet. Dr. Ravi Kapoor approached her during a brief moment of privacy in the research center. "They want to weaponize this," he whispered, his eyes darting nervously around the room. "The government, military, they see this as an opportunity, not a scientific breakthrough." She understood the implications immediately. Humanity was experiencing a collective transformation, and not everyone would welcome it with open minds. Some would seek to control it. Others would fear it. And a select few would try to exploit it. The pulse that had awakened humanity was just the beginning. In her private laboratory, Lena discovered something that made her blood run cold. The quantum signatures were evolving, becoming more complex with each passing hour. Whatever was happening wasn't random. It was purposeful. And it was just getting started. 1 week after the global pulse, the world had fractured into a kaleidoscope of fear, wonder, and unprecedented possibility. Lena Rodriguez found herself at the center of a storm she could barely comprehend. Project Prometheus had approached her with an ultimatum: cooperate fully or be shut out of her own research. The classified facility deep within the Nevada desert was a labyrinth of cutting-edge technology and military-grade security. "We need to understand the potential threats," Colonel Diana Reyes explained, her steel-gray eyes boring into Lena. "These abilities could destabilize everything: governments, economies, global security." But Lena had already discovered something the military hadn't: the transformations weren't random. They were selective, targeting individuals with specific psychological and neurological profiles. Kenji Tanaka from Tokyo, Elena Martins from Sao Paulo, Hassan Abdullah from Cairo, they were more than just case studies. They were pieces of a larger puzzle. Across the globe, people with emerging abilities found themselves isolated, afraid, and hunted. In a small apartment in Buenos Aires, Elena Martins discovered the true cost of her newfound empathy. She could now sense the emotional landscapes of those around her with terrifying clarity: pain, joy, fear, hope, all bleeding into her consciousness like watercolors. But her ability made her a target. Government agents had been watching her, documenting her every move. Kenji Tanaka's mathematical brilliance caught the attention of a shadowy international consortium. His ability to solve complex problems instantaneously made him both a potential asset and a significant threat. He went into hiding, using the very skills that made him unique to stay one step ahead of those who wanted to control him. In Cairo, Hassan Abdullah found an unexpected ally. An underground network of transformed individuals had begun to form, a support system for those experiencing the inexplicable changes. They shared information, protected each other, and tried to understand the nature of their new abilities. Lena's breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Ravi Kapoor had been analyzing the quantum signatures, and he discovered a pattern that defied conventional understanding. The pulse wasn't just changing human capabilities, it was communicating something. "It's like a message," Ravi whispered during a late-night video call, his face illuminated by multiple computer screens. "But not in any language we understand. More like a quantum invitation." Colonel Reyes grew increasingly frustrated. Project Prometheus was losing control of the narrative. More transformed individuals emerged daily, their abilities growing more complex, more integrated. The military's containment strategy was crumbling. "We're dealing with something beyond our comprehension," Lena told Ravi, her voice a mixture of excitement and fear. "This isn't just an evolution. It's a transformation." The world watched and waited. Governments scrambled. Scientists like Lena sought understanding. And beneath the surface, something extraordinary was taking shape, a collective awakening that would redefine the very concept of human potential. But someone, or something, was guiding this process. And its ultimate purpose remained tantalizingly out of reach. 30 days after the initial pulse, humanity teetered on the brink of total transformation, or total destruction. The first global incident occurred in Brussels. During an emergency United Nations summit, delegates suddenly found themselves connected by an invisible network of consciousness. Thoughts leaked between minds. Emotions became shared experiences. Decades of diplomatic tensions dissolved in moments of unprecedented empathy, followed by sheer terror. Lina Rodriguez watched the chaos unfold from the isolated research bunker. Project Prometheus had become a pressure cooker of conflicting agendas. Colonel Diana Reyes stood rigid, her control slipping with each passing hour. "We're losing everything," Reyes muttered, watching multiple screens displaying global disruptions. Communication networks flickered. Financial systems wavered. Military command structures began to fragment as soldiers experienced collective awareness that transcended national boundaries. Kenji Tanaka's underground network had grown into a global movement. Transformed individuals, each with unique abilities, began coordinating their efforts. In São Paulo, Elena Martins discovered she could amplify the emotional connections between groups, creating moments of unprecedented understanding. In Cairo, Hassan Abdullah developed the ability to repair complex technological systems with mere thought. But the transformation had a dark side. Not all changes were beneficial. Some individuals experienced catastrophic mental overloads. Minds unable to process the quantum leap began to fragment. Hospitals worldwide reported cases of complete neural breakdown. The human brain, it seemed, was struggling to adapt to its new potential. Dr. Ravi Kapoor's latest research revealed a terrifying possibility. The quantum pulse wasn't just changing humanity, it was testing humanity's collective capacity for change. Like an evolutionary algorithm, it was probing the limits of human potential, ruthlessly eliminating those who couldn't adapt. "It's a crucible," Ravi explained to Lina during an encrypted communication. "We're being evaluated. Selected. Transformed." Project Prometheus made its most desperate move. A classified protocol, decades in preparation, was activated. Project Firewall, a network of quantum disruptors designed to suppress the emerging abilities. If they couldn't control the transformation, they would attempt to stop it entirely. The first strike came without warning. A global electromagnetic pulse, more powerful than any weapon in human history, was launched from multiple strategic locations. Its purpose: to interrupt the quantum network that was connecting transformed individuals. For a moment, everything went silent. Lina watched in horror as the screens around her went dark. The quantum signatures that had been their constant companion suddenly vanished. Millions of transformed individuals experienced a collective moment of absolute isolation. But something unexpected happened. Instead of collapsing, the quantum network adapted. Where technological infrastructure failed, human connection persevered. The transformation had changed something fundamental. Humanity was no longer just a collection of individuals, but an interconnected, evolving system. As the dust settled, one thing became clear: humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning. 45 days after the global pulse, the world discovered that survival often comes from the most unexpected alliances. Deep within the Andes Mountains, an isolated research station became the unexpected epicenter of humanity's next evolutionary step. Dr. Lina Rodriguez found herself working alongside individuals she would have dismissed as conspiracy theorists just weeks earlier, a diverse group of transformed people who had discovered something profound about the quantum pulse. Among them was Dr. Amara Okonkwo, a theoretical physicist from Nigeria who had been tracking unusual astronomical data. Her research revealed a startling connection: the quantum pulse wasn't just a terrestrial phenomenon. It had cosmic origins. The pulse, Amara explained, her fingers tracing complex holographic projections, is more like a communication protocol. We're not just being changed. We're being prepared. Prepared for what remained the critical question. Kenji Tanaka's global network of transformed individuals had become a lifeline. Where governments failed, they created underground support systems. Helena Martins in São Paulo now led a coalition that helped individuals understand and control their emerging abilities. In Cairo, Hassan Abdullah had developed a communication network that transcended traditional technological barriers. Colonel Diana Reyes, once the most ardent opponent of the transformation, now found herself in an unprecedented position. Project Prometheus had been compromised from within. Many of her own personnel had undergone profound changes, their loyalties shifting as their understanding expanded. "We're not fighting an invasion," Reyes told Lena during a clandestine meeting. "We're experiencing a collective awakening." The quantum disruptors that had been deployed weeks earlier had an unexpected consequence. Instead of destroying the emerging network, they had actually accelerated its development. Transformed individuals discovered they could now communicate across previously impossible distances, their consciousness creating a neural network that defied traditional understanding. Dr. Ravi Kapoor's breakthrough came from an analysis of genetic markers. The transformation wasn't random. It targeted individuals with specific psychological and neurological characteristics, those with high empathy, adaptive thinking, and a deep sense of collective responsibility. A pattern emerged. The pulse was selecting the best of human potential. Amara's astronomical data suggested something even more extraordinary. The quantum signature matched rare signals previously detected near the edges of our solar system. Whatever was happening to humanity wasn't just a random mutation. It was a deliberate process. "We're being prepared for something," Amara repeated, her eyes reflecting both excitement and profound concern. "Something beyond our current understanding of existence." As global infrastructure continued to reshape itself, the transformed individuals began to understand their true potential. They weren't just developing new abilities. They were becoming something entirely new, a collective intelligence that maintained individual identity. The world watched and waited. Governments struggled to maintain control. Scientific communities grappled with understanding. And beneath the surface, humanity was undergoing a transformation that would redefine what it meant to be human. The invitation had been sent. And humanity was about to answer. 60 days after the initial pulse, humanity stood at the precipice of its greatest transformation. The research station in the Andes had become more than a scientific outpost, it was now the nerve center of a global awakening. Dr. Lena Rodriguez worked tirelessly, connecting the fragmented pieces of a puzzle that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Amara Okonkwo's astronomical data had revealed a critical breakthrough. The quantum pulse originated from a point just beyond the Kuiper belt, a location that suggested an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. What had seemed like a random global event was actually a carefully orchestrated invitation. Kenji Tanaka's network had evolved into a sophisticated global communication system. Transformed individuals could now share consciousness across vast distances, creating a living, breathing network of collective intelligence. Their abilities were no longer isolated incidents but a coordinated emergence of human potential. In São Paulo, Helena Martins discovered she could now amplify emotional resonance on a global scale. With a thought, she could create moments of profound empathy, bridging cultural and political divides that had seemed insurmountable just weeks before. Hassan Abdullah's technological intuition had expanded beyond repair. He could now interface directly with complex systems, understanding and manipulating technological networks with a depth that blurred the line between human and machine. Colonel Diana Reyes had become an unexpected ally. Project Prometheus was no longer about containment but about understanding. The military's most advanced minds now worked alongside the transformed, recognizing that this was not a threat to be neutralized, but an evolution to be understood. Dr. Ravi Kapoor's genetic research revealed the most shocking discovery yet. The quantum pulse was selective, but not randomly. It targeted individuals with specific genetic markers associated with adaptability, empathy, and collective thinking. Humanity was being prepared for something far beyond current comprehension. A global network of transformed individuals began to emerge. They were not a unified force in the traditional sense, but a complex, adaptive system. Each individual maintained their unique identity while simultaneously being part of a larger, interconnected consciousness. The first signs of external response began to appear. Astronomical observatories detected unusual energy signatures approaching the solar system. The quantum network, the collective consciousness of transformed humans, began to sense something approaching. A presence. A communication. Lena stood before a holographic display, watching as complex quantum signatures danced across the screen. "We're being invited," she whispered to Amara. But invited to what? The world held its breath. Governments that had once sought to control the transformation now watched in a mixture of fear and wonder. The traditional power structures were dissolving, replaced by a more fluid, adaptive system of global cooperation. Kenji, Elena, Hassan, and thousands like them, began to understand their role. They were not just recipients of a transformation. They were participants in a process larger than any single human could comprehend. As the energy signatures grew stronger, one thing became clear: humanity was about to face its ultimate test. Whatever was approaching had been watching, waiting, testing humanity's potential for generations. And now, the final invitation was being extended.